He stopped showing up on Thursdays. That's when I first noticed. It used to be our day, leftover pizza, that one show we never finished, him pretending he didn't like rom-coms. But 2 Thursdays passed, then 3. I asked if he was okay. He said, "Yeah, just busy." I said, "Okay." But I felt something shift. You don't always need proof to know the truth is coming. Sometimes your gut knows before your eyes do. He broke up with me on a Sunday. No big scene. No screaming. Just a sigh. Some half-hearted words about needing space. And then he was gone. I didn't cry right away. I just cleaned the kitchen. Like if I scrubbed hard enough, I could erase the echo of his voice from the tiles. A few days later, I was looking for my charger. Walked into my sister's room. Didn't knock. Her phone lit up when I bent down. His name. A heart. She grabbed it too fast. Said it was nothing. But I've known her since she was born. I know her nothing voice. Next morning, his sweater was on her desk chair. The gray one I bought him last Christmas. Still smelled like him. I just stared. She said he forgot it. I said nothing. Left the room. Throat tight. Hands cold. People think betrayal feels like a knife. It doesn't. Knives are quick. This was slow. Like drowning in shallow water. Like being erased one breath at a time. They didn't even hide it well. Whispered conversations. Late-night texts. Her laughing at jokes I'd already heard. I stopped going to the kitchen when he came over. Started locking my door even though I never used to. She didn't apologize. Not once. She just started acting like it had always been this way. Like I was the one who forgot the script. And him? He smiled the same. Like none of it mattered. Like love was just something you switch between sisters. I didn't scream. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't post online. I just stopped talking. That was the only power I had left. And when I finally did cry, it wasn't because he left. It was because she stayed. I stopped eating with them. That was the first shift. Dinner used to be loud, even when the food was bad. My mom would ask too many questions. My sister would roll her eyes, and I'd fill in the spaces with dumb stories from my day. But now I only heard forks and knives. No one asked where I was when I took my plate to my room. No one noticed I stopped cooking. He still came over, sat in my chair, drank from my glass, laughed with my mother like he hadn't taken something from me and left it in the next room. She smiled at him like he was new, like he hadn't sat across from me at this same table last month and said he loved me. I'd hear them late at night sometimes. Her giggling, his voice low, a door closing. My chest would tighten, but I wouldn't cry. I'd just stare at the ceiling and imagine what it would be like if I were someone who could pretend. Someone who could lie to their own bones. Someone like her. One day I passed him in the hallway. He said, "Hey," just like that. Like we were friends. Like none of it happened. I looked at him and said nothing. Just kept walking. Because if I opened my mouth, I knew I'd spit everything I'd swallowed for weeks. The worst part wasn't that he chose her. It was that she let him. She knew everything. Every story. Every scar. She held my hair when I threw up the first time he broke my heart. She helped me write the letter I never sent when we first fought. She used to say, "You deserve better." Now she was the person I needed protecting from. I started dreaming about leaving. Looking up rentals in cities I'd never visited. Wondering if disappearing would make them miss me or just make room for more silence. My mother never brought it up. Maybe she didn't know. Maybe she didn't want to. Maybe it was easier for her to keep the family picture clean even if the frame was cracked. One morning I found her in the kitchen humming. Hair still messy from the night. His hoodie on her back. She smiled like it was just another Tuesday. I stared at her. My sister. My best friend. My ghost. And all I could think was she chose him over me. And I don't think she even regrets it. They never said they were together. Not out loud. They just moved like people with nothing to hide and no reason to explain. He stopped knocking when he came over. She started wearing perfume in the house. My mom made more food than usual, like she knew someone else would be staying late. And me? I learned how to disappear while standing in the same room. I learned how to make noise without speaking. How to cry with dry eyes. I became someone else. Quieter. Smaller. Not the daughter. Not the sister. Just something in between. Something extra. I stopped waiting for apologies. They weren't coming. I stopped hoping for explanations. They didn't care if I understood. I kept thinking about all the things I never said, how I would have begged her not to do this if I thought she would have listened. But she made her choice when she let him walk through that door a second time. And he made his when he stayed. Some nights I'd walk past her room and hear them laughing. My own laugh felt like a sound I'd forgotten. The house used to feel like home. Now it felt like a place where I paid rent in silence. The worst part was pretending it didn't hurt. That I didn't notice. That I was above it. But the truth is it ate me alive. Not because I missed him, but because I missed her. I missed the girl who used to braid my hair before school. The one who covered for me when I snuck out. The one who knew how I liked my tea and always made an extra cup without asking. That girl was gone. And maybe she'd been gone longer than I wanted to admit. One night I looked at her across the dinner table. Her hair was tied up. She was wearing his watch. She laughed at something he said. And I realized I didn't know who I was looking at anymore. And I don't think she saw me either. The silence was getting louder. It followed me into every room, pressed against my skin like humidity. I'd wake up with my heart racing, no dream, no noise, just the weight of staying somewhere I didn't belong anymore. My things were still in the same place. Drawers full. Closet full. But I felt like a guest in a home with my name on the lease. So I started packing. Quietly. One shirt at a time. Not because I had somewhere to go. I didn't. I just needed to feel like I was moving, like I had control over something, anything. I folded old sweaters I hadn't worn in years. Stared at framed photos until they stopped looking like memories and started looking like lies. There was one of us on the fridge. Me and her. Arms around each other. Big smiles. Sunlight in her hair. I took it down. Put it face down in a drawer. Didn't throw it away. Not yet. I wanted to hate her. I tried. But the hate never stuck. It always slid off and left behind something worse, grief. I grieved her like someone who had died and kept showing up to dinner. And every time she laughed in the hallway or he asked where the extra towels were, I felt like a ghost in my own life. One night, I sat on the floor with half-packed boxes and no plan. I stared at the wall for an hour. No music. No distractions. Just the sound of her laughter echoing down the hallway. And I whispered something I hadn't dared say out loud until then. I don't forgive you. Not because I wanted her to hurt, but because I needed to stop bleeding for people who never noticed I was cut. Tea was Sunday. The kind of morning where the house smelled like coffee and something frying in the pan. For a second, it almost felt normal. I came into the kitchen because I was tired of hiding. Tired of tiptoeing around the people who broke me. She was at the stove. He was leaning against the counter. They both looked up. No guilt. No surprise. Just casual. Like this was fine. Like I was the one being dramatic. My mom said sit, I made extra. I sat. Fork in hand, no appetite. Every bite tasted like cardboard, but I chewed anyway. Because pretending is what you do when you're still half broken but not fully gone. She made a joke. He laughed. My mom joined in. And I sat there in a room full of voices I used to trust, wondering when I became the stranger. I looked at my sister and saw someone I couldn't reach. I looked at him and felt nothing but a tight, cold wall where something warm used to be. I looked at my mom and realized she wasn't going to fix this. She was going to let it be. Because keeping the peace was more important than naming the damage. When I finished my food, I stood up. No one stopped me. No one asked where I was going. I walked back to my room, closed the door, and sat in front of my half-packed box. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't just leaving. I was being let go. Quietly. Without a word. Without a fight. And maybe that's what hurt the most. Not that they did this. But that no one thought I was worth holding on to. I didn't wait for a perfect day. There wasn't going to be one. I finished packing what I could carry, essentials only. A few clothes, my charger, the notebook I used to write in before all this. I didn't leave a note. What was I supposed to say? You broke me but I smiled through it? They wouldn't read it anyway. Or worse, they'd read it and still not care. I zipped my bag slowly. Checked the corners of my room like I was leaving a hotel, not a life. The photo of us on the fridge was still face down in the drawer. I left it there. Let them decide what to do with it. The hallway was quiet. My mom was humming in the living room. The TV was on. I could hear a commercial playing. I peeked around the corner and saw them on the couch, him, her, my sister, and the man who used to say he loved me. She had her head on his shoulder. They were laughing at something on the screen. And for a second I stood there frozen like a ghost watching the living move on. Then I turned. Walked out the door without looking back. I didn't cry until I reached the bus stop. And even then I wiped my face fast like the tears weren't worth being seen. No one asked if I was okay. No one looked twice. Just another girl with a duffel bag and red eyes. And maybe that's all I was now. Someone who left quietly. Someone who used to be a sister. Someone who used to be loved. The first night away felt like silence had a weight. The room I rented was small, barely furnished, smelled like cleaning spray and old air. But it was mine. No laughter behind walls that cut. No footsteps I recognized too well. No shared cups or borrowed sweaters. I lay on the mattress with no sheets and stared at the ceiling until the sun came up. Sleep didn't come easy, but at least the quiet wasn't cruel anymore. It was mine. I didn't check my phone. I knew there were no missed calls, no texts. I wasn't expecting any. They weren't the kind of people who'd realize what they lost. Or maybe they just never believed I'd leave. Maybe they thought I'd stay, bitter and silent, orbiting their comfort. But I didn't. I was gone. I walked to a nearby cafe that morning, ordered coffee with shaky hands. The barista smiled like I wasn't broken. That meant more than I thought it would. I sat by the window and watched people pass by. People with bags, with tired eyes, with headphones in. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I was falling behind. I was just another face in the flow. Felt good. Felt possible. I kept thinking about her though. Not him, he faded fast. But her. My sister. My first friend. My built-in best. And I couldn't stop wondering if she even thought about me. If she looked into my room and felt the absence. Or if she'd already filled it with someone else's voice. It hit me then I didn't miss them. I missed who I thought they were. And they were never really that. They were who I needed them to be. And I held on too tight to the version of them that only lived in my head. Now I had to let them die. Not with hate, but with distance. And that's what healing is. Not fixing. Not forgetting. Just deciding who you no longer have to carry. It had been 2 weeks. 14 days since I walked out. Since I made a promise to myself not to look back. I was starting to breathe differently. Slower. Deeper. I still woke up heavy some mornings, but I didn't feel buried anymore. I could cook without thinking of how she liked her eggs. I could walk past guys who looked like him and not flinch. And then I saw her. In the cereal aisle. She was standing there holding a box of something we used to fight over as kids. She didn't see me at first. I had time to turn away. To leave. But I froze. And then she looked up. And smiled. Like nothing happened. Like I hadn't packed my life into a duffel bag while she laughed in the next room. I didn't smile back. I didn't cry. I just stared. Waiting to feel something big, something heavy. But there was nothing. Just a quiet, tired kind of sadness. Like finding a letter you used to carry and realizing you don't need it anymore. She said my name like we were still sisters. Like her hands weren't stained with everything she took. I nodded once. Said I had to go. Left the cart behind. Walked out with my keys in hand and my throat burning. She didn't follow. Of course she didn't. She had never been the one who chased. Outside, the sun was too bright. The sidewalk too loud. But I kept walking. Fast. Like if I stopped I'd fall through the cracks. I didn't go home. I walked until my feet hurt and then I kept walking. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want her to hurt. I just wanted space. Peace. Room to exist without sharing oxygen with betrayal. And that day, under that sky, with no cereal and no plan, I realized I was finally starting to get it. Some people don't deserve chapters. Just footnotes. Just a page you skip. The thing they don't tell you about betrayal is that it lingers in strange places. Not in the loud memories, but in the quiet ones. The way a jacket feels heavier when it used to be shared. The way certain songs feel like bruises. I used to think I needed her to explain. I thought maybe if she just said sorry or admitted she knew what she did, the weight would lift. But time does something to you. It burns off the parts of pain that beg for answers. I stopped waiting for a text. Stopped imagining some dramatic apology at my door. I started realizing that closure isn't something you get from other people. It's something you give yourself when you finally stop needing them to care. I deleted his number without ceremony. Threw away the last photo we took together. Not in rage. In relief. I wasn't holding on for them anymore. I was holding on out of habit. And habits break the second you let silence stay silent. I started building small routines again. Waking up early. Cleaning the space I rented. Watering a plant I wasn't sure would survive. I bought a cheap sketchbook and filled the first page with scribbles. Nothing deep. Just movement. Proof I was still here. My body still felt heavy sometimes. My mind still wandered back to what they did. But my days didn't revolve around it anymore. I didn't carry them into every hour. And that was something. That was new. One night, I looked at my reflection and said her name out loud, just to see how it felt. It didn't hurt. It didn't echo. It just floated for a second, then disappeared. I guess that's what healing looks like. Not fireworks. Not grand finales. Just a slow, steady release. One breath at a time. I didn't tell anyone what happened. Not fully. Not because I was protecting them, but because some things lose their meaning when you say them out loud. My sister took my boyfriend sounds like a line from a cheap drama. It doesn't capture the weight, the rot, the silence that grew between us like mold. But I think people knew. Friends stopped asking how she was. My aunt asked about the apartment, not the family. Even my mom's voice changed when she said her name. Soft, cautious. Like she knew the ground was cracked and didn't want to step wrong. I don't hate her. I used to think I did. I rehearsed 1,000 versions of the moment I'd finally scream. The words I'd throw like knives. But the truth is, hate takes energy. And I'm tired. I don't want her to hurt. I just want her to feel it. Feel the quiet. Feel what it's like to need someone and realize they're not coming. I hope one day she looks at someone and sees me in the space they leave behind. I hope she wonders what I would have said if she'd just told the truth. And I hope she realizes she lost more than a sister. She lost a witness, a keeper of childhood secrets, the only person who would have stood by her even when no one else did. And for what? For a boy who smiled the same way to both of us. That's the part one still don't get. She knew what he was. She knew who he was. And still, she chose him. Maybe she'll outgrow him. Maybe one day she'll feel the sting of what she broke. Maybe not. It's not mine to carry anymore. I still have moments where I forget and almost text her. When something funny happens. When I pass a place we used to go. And then I remember. She's someone else now. And I'm someone who finally walked away. I didn't slam the door. I didn't set fire to the house. I just stopped showing up. That was my revenge. And the best part? I never looked back. Some endings don't come with doors slamming or voices raised. Some just happen in silence. One person stops texting, another stops caring, and then the space between you grows until you're waving at a stranger who still knows your secrets. That's what she is now. A stranger with my laugh. My childhood. My blood. I don't think she meant to break me. But she did. And I don't think he meant anything at all. That's the difference. She was my sister. He was just passing through. I've stopped trying to understand how they sleep at night. Maybe they don't. Maybe they do. Maybe they hold hands and tell themselves I overreacted. That I'll come back eventually. But I won't. Not because I'm angry. Not even because I'm hurt. But because I've seen who they are without the masks, and I can't forget that. I don't need revenge. I don't need them to suffer. I just need peace. And I have it now. Quiet mornings. Soft music. A bed that only holds me and no ghosts. I smile again. Not because everything's fine, but because I survived. I show up for myself now. I cook for one and eat without swallowing shame. I light candles and don't flinch when the house creaks. I am alone, and I am safe. That's more than I could say before. I still pass places that remind me of them. I still hear songs that taste like old memories. But they don't choke me anymore. They pass. Like weather. Like noise through a window I don't open. I used to think healing would feel like a movie ending. A big monologue. Rain. Closure. But it doesn't. It's quiet. It's brushing your teeth without shaking. It's folding clothes and not thinking about who used to wear them. It's walking by her favorite store and not stopping. It's choosing yourself every single day even when it's hard. Especially then. I don't miss her anymore. I miss who she used to be. But I've made peace with the fact that girl is gone. So is the version of me that begged to be seen. She doesn't live here anymore. And the new me? She doesn't beg. She doesn't explain. She walks away when the love turns cold. And she never looks back.